Girl offers tin bracelet for food, but the market owner recognizes her and changes everything. Robert Johnson was organizing the shelves of his small market when he felt something shift in the air. It was an ordinary Tuesday afternoon in the Hope Valley neighborhood of Denver, when a timid presence approached the counter where the day's bread was kept. The girl couldn't have been more than 9 years old and held in her hands a small bracelet made of crushed tin cans, shaped with a peculiar technique that made Robert's heart race. She trembled as she extended the handmade object toward him. "Sir, will you take this for a little loaf of bread?" she asked in a quiet voice, almost whispering. Robert took the bracelet in his hands and felt as if the world had stopped. That specific way of folding the tin, those small finishing details, the way the wires were intertwined, it was identical to the ones his daughter Amanda used to make before disappearing from his life 15 years ago. "Where did you learn to make this?" he asked, trying to steady his voice. "My grandma taught me. She said I should always give something in return when I need help, that I can't take anything for free." The girl kept her eyes on the floor as she spoke, and Robert could see her clothes were worn but clean, well cared for despite their simplicity. There was a dignity in that child that touched him deeply. "What's your name, sweetheart?" "Emily, sir. Emily Wilson. I live down the back street with my grandma Martha. We haven't eaten in 2 days and she's very sick. She can't even get out of bed." Robert felt a tightness in his chest. 15 years ago, his daughter Amanda had run away from home at 17, pregnant and terrified of something she never wanted to talk about. She left only a note asking for forgiveness and promising to return when she could. He never heard from her again. "Take this bread and this basket with some things for your grandma," he said, grabbing a bag and filling it with bread, milk, rice, beans, and a few other basics. "And keep your bracelet. You don't have to give me anything in return." Emily shook her head firmly. "No, sir. Grandma Martha always told me we have to keep our dignity, even if we're poor. If I take your things, you keep my bracelet. That's how she raised me." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, continuing. Robert accepted the bracelet with a heavy heart and watched Emily carry the bag, which was almost bigger than she was. When the girl disappeared around the corner, he closed the market early and went to the house she had mentioned. It was a simple home in the Hope Valley projects, with exposed brick walls and a tin roof. Robert knocked on the wooden door and heard a weak voice from inside. "Come in, it's not locked." He pushed the door open and found an elderly woman with white hair lying on a simple bed in the only room of the house. She must have been in her mid-60s, but illness made her look much older. Emily was by her side, arranging the items from the bag on a makeshift shelf. "Grandma, this is the man from the market who gave me these things for my bracelet." Miss Martha tried to sit up in bed, but Robert motioned for her not to worry. "No need to get up, Miss Martha. I'm Robert Johnson, owner of Hope Market on the main street. I came to meet you." "Thank you so much for your kindness, sir. Emily told me how generous you were. I've always taught her we can't be a burden to anyone, but these last few days have been hard." In the days that followed, Robert began visiting Ms. Martha's house regularly, always bringing groceries and offering to help however he could. Gradually, he uncovered the story of the two. Ms. Martha had found Emily on her doorstep when the girl was just a few months old. She was in a wicker basket, wrapped in a blue blanket, with only a small tin bracelet as the sole trace of whoever had left her there. "I never knew who brought her here," Ms. Martha shared during one of these visits, "but the next day, a young woman appeared at my door. She said she knew I had found a baby and gave me an envelope with money, asking me to take good care of the child." Robert felt his heart race. What did this woman look like? Very young, maybe 17 or 18, thin, with long brown hair and green eyes. She was crying hard and seemed desperate. She said she couldn't keep the baby, that she was afraid of something, but she wouldn't tell me what. The description matched his daughter Amanda perfectly. Robert swallowed hard. "Did she ever come back?" "I never saw her again, but I kept the little bracelet that came with the baby. It was with that one that I taught Emily how to make the others. Would you like to see it?" Ms. Martha asked Emily to fetch a shoebox from under the bed. Inside were old photos, some papers, and the original bracelet. When Robert saw it, he had no more doubts. It was just like the ones Amanda used to make, with the same unique pattern she had developed. "Can I keep this photo?" he asked, pointing to one where Emily appeared very small, holding the original bracelet. "Of course, Mr. Robert. You've been so kind to us." That night, Robert couldn't sleep. He was almost certain Emily was his granddaughter, Amanda's daughter. But how could he confirm it without hurting anyone? And where was Amanda now? In the following days, Ms. Martha's health took a sharp turn for the worse. She developed a high fever and had trouble breathing. Emily, though just a child, tended to her grandmother with touching devotion, giving her medicine, applying cold compresses, and trying to comfort her. "You need to take your grandmother to the hospital, Emily," Robert said during one of his visits. "She's very sick." "But how, Mr. Robert? We don't have money for a private hospital, and at the clinic they said they only handle emergencies." Robert didn't hesitate. "I'll take you to Mercy Medical Center. I know a doctor there. He'll take good care of Ms. Martha." At the hospital, while Ms. Martha underwent tests, Robert spoke with Emily in the waiting room. The girl was frightened but trying to stay strong. "Mr. Robert, if anything happens to Grandma Martha, I'll have no one left in the world. She's all I have." "Nothing will happen, Emily. And even if it did, you wouldn't be alone. I'd take care of you." The girl looked at him in surprise. "Why? You barely know me." Robert wanted to tell her everything, but he knew it wasn't the right time yet. First, he needed absolute certainty. "Because you remind me of someone very special I lost a long time ago." The tests revealed Ms. Martha had severe pneumonia and would need to stay hospitalized for a few days. Emily refused to leave the hospital, sleeping in a chair beside her grandmother's bed. "You'll sleep at my house tonight, Emily," Robert insisted. "Your grandmother is in good hands here. You can come back tomorrow." "I can't leave her alone, Mr. Robert. What if she needs me during the night?" "The nurses will take care of her. You're just a child. You need rest too." Reluctantly, Emily agreed to go to Robert's house. It was a simple two-story home in Elmwood Park, well kept and furnished in a way that showed it had once been a family home. On the walls were several photos of a young woman who looked strikingly like Emily. "Who is she?" Emily asked, pointing to one of the photos. "That's my daughter, Amanda. She left a long time ago and never came back." Emily studied the photo carefully. "She looks like me, doesn't she?" "It's true, she does." "Where did she go?" "I don't know, Emily. One day she just left home, and I never heard from her again." That night, Emily slept in the room that had once been Amanda's, preserved exactly as she had left it. Robert stayed up late, looking at old photos and remembering the days when his daughter still lived with him. Amanda had always been a sweet and creative girl, but in her teens, she started going out a lot and getting involved with people Robert didn't approve of. When she got pregnant at 17, she refused to say who the baby's father was. She only said she was afraid of him and needed to protect the child. The next morning, Robert and Emily returned to the hospital. Ms. Martha was doing a little better, but was still very weak. The doctor said she'd need a few more days of hospitalization and then special care at home. "How much will all this cost?" Emily asked, worried. "Don't worry about that now," Robert replied. "What matters is your grandma getting better." But deep down, Robert knew the costs would be high. His market barely covered his own expenses, and he'd have to juggle things to pay for the hospital. Still, he didn't hesitate to authorize all the necessary procedures. During one of the visits, Ms. Martha called Robert aside for a private talk. "Mr. Robert, I know you're paying for all this. I can't thank you enough for your kindness. But there's something important you should know about Emily." "Go ahead, Miss Martha." "That woman who brought her here as a baby. I lied when I said I never saw her again. She came back a few times during the first year, always from a distance, just to check on the girl. I could tell when she was nearby, but she never came close." Robert's heart raced. "And then she stopped coming. But about 3 years ago, a well-dressed lady came here looking for Emily. She said she knew the girl's mother and wanted to know how she was doing." "Who was this lady?" "She introduced herself as Ms. Margaret Thompson. She lived in a wealthy part of town, said Emily's mother had worked in her house. She left a phone number and asked me to call if we ever needed anything. Miss Martha handed Robert a yellowed piece of paper with a phone number written on it. I never called because we always managed on our own, but now with all this illness and seeing how kind you've been to us, I think maybe it's time to find out the truth about Emily's family. Robert tucked the paper into his pocket, feeling he was getting closer to confirming his suspicions. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, back to the story. The next day, Robert called the number Ms. Martha had given him. A polite woman's voice answered. Thompson residence, good morning. Good morning, I'd like to speak with Ms. Margaret Thompson. It's about a girl named Emily Wilson. There was a pause on the other end. One moment, please. A few seconds later, a mature, elegant voice came on the line. This is Margaret Thompson. You said this is about Emily. Yes, ma'am. My name is Robert Johnson. I'm helping take care of Emily and her grandmother, who's ill. Miss Martha gave me your number and said you knew Emily's mother. Oh my, how are they? I've always worried about that child. The girl is fine, but Miss Martha is hospitalized with pneumonia. Could you tell me what you know about Emily's mother? Of course. Could you come to my house this afternoon? I have some things that might be important. Robert wrote down the address and arranged to go there after visiting the hospital. Miss Margaret lived in a mansion in the Highlands, one of the most upscale neighborhoods in Denver. She was a woman around 60 years old, well-kept and distinguished in appearance. She welcomed Robert into the living room, which was tastefully decorated with antique furniture. So you're taking care of Emily? She asked, serving coffee. Yes, I am. In fact, I have a suspicion about who her mother might be. That's why I came to see you. And what is your suspicion? I think Emily might be my granddaughter. My daughter disappeared 15 years ago, pregnant, around the same time Emily showed up at Miss Martha's house. Ms. Margaret fell silent for a moment, as if deciding what to say. What was your daughter's name? Amanda Johnson. Ms. Margaret's face lit up. So it's you. Amanda talked a lot about her father. She worked here as a maid, but she used the fake name Sarah Davis. I only found out her real name after she left. Robert felt a mix of relief and anxiety. What was she like when she worked here? A sweet girl, but very frightened. She was a few months pregnant when she arrived looking for work. I took her in because I could see she was desperate. She worked very hard, was honest and kind. Why did she leave? One day she came to tell me the baby's father had found out where she was. She said he was a dangerous person and was afraid he'd hurt the child. That same night, she disappeared, leaving only a letter. Miss Margaret stood up and went to an old desk where she pulled out a yellowed envelope. I kept the letter she left and some photos we took here at home. Robert opened the envelope with trembling hands. He immediately recognized Amanda's handwriting. Ms. Margaret, thank you so much for everything you've done for me. Unfortunately, I have to leave because Brandon found me. He said if I didn't return, he'd hurt people I love. I can't put anyone in danger. I'll leave my baby somewhere safe and then go far away. Please don't worry about me. One day when all this is over, I'll come back for my daughter. Thank you for everything, Amanda. Tears began to stream down Robert's face. He finally had the confirmation he'd been searching for. Did she really leave the baby with Miss Martha? Asked Miss Margaret. Yes, she did, and now Emily is 9 years old, a wonderful girl. I always wanted to help, but I didn't know how to find them. By the time I discovered where the child was, years had passed and I didn't want to interfere in the life they'd built. Miss Margaret showed Robert the photos. In one of them, Amanda was smiling in the garden of the house, her belly already quite visible. The resemblance to Emily was undeniable. Miss Margaret, do you have any idea where Amanda might be now? No idea, but I can make some inquiries. I have contacts who might be able to help. Robert returned to the hospital with his heart torn between the joy of knowing Emily was indeed his granddaughter and the anguish of not knowing where Amanda was. When he reached the room, he found Emily sitting by Miss Martha's bedside, showing her the new bracelets she'd made. Grandma, look how pretty they turned out. When you get out of here, we can sell them on the street and save up for your medicine. Don't worry about that, sweetheart, said Miss Martha, stroking Emily's hair. Mr. Robert is taking care of everything. But I don't like being a burden to him, Grandma. You always taught me we have to make our own way. Robert overheard the conversation from the hallway and felt a tightness in his chest. He decided it was time to tell the truth, at least to Ms. Martha. "Ms. Martha, can I speak with you privately?" Emily left the room to fetch water, and Robert approached the bed. "I found out who Emily's mother is. She's my daughter, Amanda." Ms. Martha didn't seem surprised. "I had a feeling, Mr. Robert. You have the same eyes as her, and the kindness you're showing us isn't normal, it runs in the family. Aren't you mad I didn't tell you sooner?" "How could I be mad? You're taking care of your granddaughter. It's the most natural thing in the world. But will you tell Emily?" "I still don't know how. She's so young and I don't want to confuse her. First, I need to make sure I can take good care of her." "Mr. Robert, I'm old and sick. I don't know how much time I have left. If something happens to me, Emily will need someone. Knowing she has a grandfather would be a blessing." In the days that followed, Robert began watching Emily with new eyes. He saw traces of Amanda in every gesture, every smile, every expression. The girl had the same stubbornness as her mother, the same creativity, the same kindness. Ms. Martha was discharged from Mercy Medical Center, but needed to continue treatment at home. Robert insisted they move in with him temporarily so he could take better care of both of them. "We can't accept this, Mr. Robert," Emily protested. "We've already caused you enough trouble." "It's no trouble at all, Emily. In fact, you'd be doing me a favor. My house feels too empty. It'd be nice to have company." Reluctantly, they agreed. Robert set up the guest room for Ms. Martha and let Emily keep staying in Amanda's old room. On their first day in the new house, Emily made sure to help with everything. She swept, mopped, organized the kitchen, and even made several new bracelets. "You don't have to do all that, Emily," Robert said. "Yes, I do. We can't just take, we have to give something back." That night, after Ms. Martha had gone to sleep, Robert and Emily sat in the living room. He decided it was time to start preparing her for the truth. "Emily, have you ever wondered about your mother?" The girl thought for a moment. "Sometimes I imagine what she was like. But Grandma Martha has always been my mom. She raised me, taught me everything, took care of me when I was sick. To me, a mother is the one who cares for you, not just the one who had you. And if one day you found out who your real mother was, I'd be curious, of course, but it wouldn't change anything. Grandma Martha will always be my main family." "What if you found out you had other relatives too?" Emily looked at him with interest. "Like who?" "I don't know. A grandfather, for example. It'd be nice to have a grandpa. Grandma Martha always says family is the most important thing in the world." Robert felt he was on the right track, but before telling Emily everything, he needed to sort out the financial situation. The hospital bills and Ms. Martha's medications were straining the market's finances. His business partner, Elliot Parker, was far from happy. "Robert, you're spending money we don't have on these people. The market's in the red because of your do-gooder streak." "Elliot, it's just a rough patch. Soon they'll be back on their feet and I'll focus on the business again. You barely even know them. Where did this obsession with helping them come from?" Robert wasn't ready to tell Elliot the truth. He knew his partner was self-serving and might try to use the information against him. "I'm just doing what I think is right." "Well, I think it's wrong, and if you keep this up, I'll have to reconsider our partnership." Elliot's threat worried Robert. He owned half the market. If he decided to sell his share, Robert wouldn't have the money to buy him out. Meanwhile, Ms. Margaret kept her promise and began looking into Amanda's whereabouts. Through contacts at employment agencies and work records, she found some leads. "Robert, I have some information about your daughter," she said over the phone. "Can I come talk to you?" They met at the market after closing time. Ms. Margaret brought a folder with documents and notes. "I found out that Amanda worked in at least 3 different homes over the past 15 years, always using fake names. The last information I could find was from 2 years ago, when she worked for a family in rural Kentucky." "And what happened there?" "According to my source, she left suddenly, leaving only a note saying she needed to go. It seems this Brandon guy found her again." "Who is this Brandon? Why is he chasing my daughter?" "From what I've gathered, he's a violent person who can't accept that Amanda ended the relationship. He has a history of threats and harassment." Robert felt a deep anger growing inside him. His daughter had spent 15 years running from a man who wouldn't leave her alone, and because of that, She'd lost the chance to raise her own child. Do you have any leads on where she might be now? I'm still investigating, but I have a proposal to make. What proposal? I'm in a position to help you financially. I can cover Ms. Martha's medical treatments and still have money left to secure Emily's future. In return, I just want to be part of the girl's life. Amanda was like a daughter to me during the time she worked in my home. Robert stayed silent, considering the offer. On one hand, it would solve their financial problems. On the other, he didn't want Emily growing up thinking she needed charity from strangers. Let me talk to Ms. Martha and think it over. Of course, but don't take too long. The more time passes, the harder it'll be to find Amanda. When Robert got home, he found Emily in the kitchen making tea for Ms. Martha. How was the market today? She asked. Quiet. And how was your day? I made these bracelets, said Emily, showing a collection of at least 20 pieces. Tomorrow, I'll try selling them at the square. Grandma Martha said I can, as long as I'm back before lunch. Emily, you don't have to work, you're just a child. But I like making the bracelets, and we need to contribute somehow. You already do so much for us. That night, Robert talked to Ms. Martha about Ms. Margaret's proposal. She's a good person, Mr. Robert. If she wants to help, I think we should accept. Emily deserves every opportunity. But what if Emily grows up thinking she needs handouts from others? She's already learned dignity. No one can take that from her. Accepting help when you need it isn't shameful, it's wisdom. The next day, Robert called Ms. Margaret and accepted the proposal. They agreed she'd cover the medical and educational costs discreetly, so Emily wouldn't feel uncomfortable. There's one condition, said Robert. If we find Amanda, she has to agree to all this. Naturally, I wouldn't do anything against her wishes. With their finances settled, Robert could focus on other aspects of Emily's life. The girl was adjusting well to her new routine and seemed happy living in his home. One afternoon, while Emily did homework in the living room, she called out to Robert. Mr. Robert, can I ask you something? Of course, sweetheart. Why do you take care of us? Not that I'm ungrateful, but why did you choose us? Robert felt the moment of truth had come, at least part of it. Remember when I told you that you remind me of someone special? I remember. It's because you looked just like my daughter when she was little. The same eyes, the same way of speaking, even the same talent for crafts. Really? Where is she now? I don't know, Emily. She left a long time ago, and I've never been able to find her. It must be so sad not knowing where someone you love is. It really is. Emily grew thoughtful for a moment. You know what I think? I think maybe your daughter won't come back. But you've gained a granddaughter to take care of. And I've gained a grandfather. How about we become a family? Robert felt his eyes fill with tears. Emily had reached the very conclusion he'd been trying to build toward for weeks. It would be the most beautiful thing in the world to have you as my granddaughter. Then it's settled. From now on, you're my grandpa Robert and I'm your granddaughter Emily. They hugged, and Robert felt his heart overflowing with love. Even without knowing the whole truth, Emily had chosen to consider him family. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now back to the story. In the following days, Emily began calling Robert Grandpa, and he called her Sweetheart. Ms. Martha was moved to see the affection that had grown between them. Emily always wanted a grandfather, she told Robert. When she was little, she'd make up stories about having a grandpa who lived far away, but would one day come to meet her. And now he has, Robert replied, smiling. Life was starting to settle when Elliot, Robert's business partner, arrived with bad news. Robert, I need to talk to you. I've been going over the market's accounts and found you've been using company money for personal expenses. What personal expenses? The hospital bills for that old lady and the girl. The medicine, the tests, all of it came from the market's funds. Robert fell silent. It was true he'd used company money in the early days, before Ms. Margaret took over the costs. It's all been paid back, Elliot. There's no debt left. But it happened, and that's enough reason for me to demand we dissolve the partnership. Either you buy me out, or I buy you out. You know I don't have the money to buy you out. Then you'll have to sell me your share. I already have a buyer interested. Robert felt his world crumbling. The market was all he had in life, his only source of income. Without it, how would he support Emily and Miss Martha? Give me a few days to think. 3 days, Robert. Either you fix this or I take legal action. When Robert got home that night, he was visibly shaken. Emily noticed something was wrong. Grandpa, did something happen? Just some trouble at the market, sweetheart. Nothing for you to worry about. But Emily wasn't convinced. That same night, she overheard Robert talking to Ms. Martha about the situation. Ms. Martha, I don't know what to do. If I lose the market, I'll have nothing left. How will I take care of you both? Mr. Robert, you've already done more for us than we deserve. If need be, we'll go back to our little house. We don't want to be a burden. You're not a burden. You're my family now. I have to find a way to fix this. Emily listened from behind the door, feeling a mix of guilt and determination. She couldn't let Grandpa Robert lose everything because of them. The next day, while Robert was at the market trying to resolve things with Elliot, Emily left the house without telling Miss Martha. She had a plan. She went to Miss Margaret's house. Robert had left the address with them and rang the bell firmly. Emily, what a surprise! What are you doing here? Ms. Margaret, I need to talk to you about something very important. They sat in the living room, and Emily recounted everything she'd heard the night before. Grandpa Robert might lose the market because of us. I can't let that happen. What Grandpa Robert? Mr. Robert. We're a family now. He takes care of me and I take care of him. Ms. Margaret was touched by Emily's maturity. What do you want me to do? Could you lend him the money to buy out his partner? I promise when I grow up I'll work to pay it all back. Emily, you don't need to worry about these things. Let the adults handle it. But I'm not just a kid. I know Grandpa Robert is suffering, and he's suffering because of us. I have to help him like he helped me. Ms. Margaret was impressed by Emily's determination. She decided to act right away. All right then, let's go talk to your grandfather. They went together to the market, where they found Robert in a heated argument with Elliot. I already told you you have 3 days to decide, Elliot was saying when they arrived. May I know what this is about? Ms. Margaret interjected firmly. This doesn't concern you, Elliot replied rudely. Actually, it does. I'm a lawyer, and I'm representing Mr. Robert Johnson's interests in this matter. It was a lie, but Ms. Margaret carried herself with enough authority to make Elliot believe her. What lawyer? Robert can't afford one. You're mistaken. Now I'd like to see all the documents related to this partnership and the accusations you're making. Elliot visibly squirmed. He hadn't expected Robert to get legal representation. There's nothing for you to see. Things are exactly as I said. Then you won't mind showing me the paperwork, right? After much resistance, Elliot finally produced the partnership documents and the market's financial records. Ms. Margaret, who actually understood business from running her own companies, quickly spotted irregularities. Interesting, she said, after reviewing everything. It seems that over the last 2 years, there have been several unauthorized withdrawals from the company account, all signed only by you, Mr. Elliot. Those were advances I was entitled to. Advances without your partner's approval? That's embezzlement. And I see here you artificially inflated several expenses, creating a deficit that doesn't actually exist. Elliot began to sweat. You can't prove any of this. Oh, I can, and I will. In fact, the one who should be facing charges here is you, not Robert. From that moment on, the situation completely reversed. Elliot, who had been trying to force Robert out, found himself on the defensive. Ms. Margaret demanded he return all the money he'd taken improperly, and even proposed he sell his share to Robert at a fair price. If you refuse our offer, she said, we'll file charges for embezzlement and fraud. With the evidence we have, you could even go to jail. With no choice, Elliot agreed to sell his share of the market to Robert for half its value. Ms. Margaret financed the purchase, and Robert became the sole owner of the business. Ms. Margaret, I don't know how to thank you, Robert said after Elliot left. The one you should thank is this young lady here, she replied, pointing to Emily. She's the one who came to me and asked me to help you. Robert looked at Emily with surprise and pride. Sweetheart, you did this for me. Of course, Grandpa, that's what family does. That evening, the three of them celebrated their victory with a special dinner at Robert's house. Grandma Martha was feeling much better and joined the celebration. "Mr. Robert," she said, "I think it's time to tell Emily the truth." "What truth?" Emily asked, curious. Robert took a deep breath. He knew he couldn't put it off any longer. "Emily, remember when you said we were a makeshift family?" "I do." "Well, we're not makeshift. We're real family. You're my real granddaughter." Emily fell silent for a long moment, processing the information. "What do you mean?" "Your mother is my daughter, Amanda. She left you with Grandma Martha when you were a baby because she was afraid of someone who was threatening her. And where is she now?" "We don't know yet, but we're looking for her." Emily looked at the photos of Amanda on the wall and then at Robert. "So you're really my grandpa?" "I sure am, sweetheart. And my mom left me because she had to run away, not because she didn't want me." "Exactly. She loves you so much that she chose to stay away to protect you." Emily stood up and hugged Robert tightly. "I always knew you were too special to be just a friend. Now I understand why." Miss Margaret watched the whole scene with emotion. After Emily went to sleep, she spoke to Robert about the investigation. "I have news about Amanda. My detective found a promising lead." "What lead?" "She's working on a ranch in rural Colorado. It seems she finally managed to hide somewhere that Brandon can't find her. Can we confirm it? I'm already working on it. If it's really her, we can arrange a reunion." Robert felt his heart race. The possibility of seeing Amanda again and reuniting his family was becoming more real. In the following days, as they waited for confirmation about Amanda, Emily and Robert settled into a pleasant routine. He taught her about the market, and she helped him with the bracelets, which had become a popular item among customers. Emily also returned to school, where she quickly stood out as a bright and creative student. She made new friends and seemed to have found the balance missing from her life. One afternoon, Miss Margaret called with the confirmation they'd all been waiting for. "It's her, Robert. It's Amanda. My detective spoke to the ranch foreman and confirmed all the details. She's been there for 6 months. And now? Now the decision is yours. Do you want me to send someone to talk to her first, or would you rather go yourself?" Robert thought for a moment. "I want to go myself, but I want to take Emily with me." "Are you sure? It might be a big shock for both of them." "Emily deserves to meet her mother, and Amanda deserves to know what an amazing girl her daughter has become." They planned the trip for the following weekend. Robert talked to Emily about the possibility of meeting her mother. "Grandpa, I'm nervous. What if she doesn't like me?" "How could she not like you? You're the most beautiful thing in this world." "What if she wants me to live with her? I don't want to leave you and Grandma Martha." "Sweetheart, you won't have to choose between us. We're all family. We'll find a way to stay together." On Friday, they left for Colorado with Ms. Margaret, who insisted on accompanying them. The car ride took nearly 4 hours, and Emily grew more anxious as they neared their destination. Clearwater Ranch was in a rural area of Boulder, about 30 miles from the city. It was a property dedicated to cattle and soybean farming, with a beautiful main house and several smaller buildings scattered across the land. The foreman, Mr. Frank, met them at the gate. "You're the folks looking for Sarah?" he asked. Amanda was still using a fake name. "We are," Robert replied. "Is she here?" "She's in the workers' house, helping in the kitchen. But before I call her, can you tell me who you are? She's always very nervous when strangers show up." Robert briefly explained the situation, leaving out only the harshest details about Brandon. She mentioned having a daughter but never talked much about her family. She's always been very private. "Can we see her?" "I'll bring her here. But take it slow. She's very sensitive." Mr. Frank went to a simple wooden house and returned a few minutes later with a woman who made Robert's heart stop. It was Amanda. 15 years older, thinner, her face marked by hardship, but still recognizable as the girl he'd raised. When she saw Robert, her legs nearly gave out. "Dad," she whispered, as if she couldn't believe it. "Hi, sweetheart. Finally, I found you." They ran to each other and embraced, crying. Emily watched wide-eyed, seeing her mother for the first time in her life. After the initial shock, Amanda noticed the girl standing next to Robert. "Who is she?" "It's Emily, Amanda. She's our daughter." Amanda looked at Emily as if witnessing a miracle. The girl stepped forward shyly. "Hi, Mom. Oh my God, you're so grown, so beautiful." They hugged, and for a few minutes no one could speak. It was just two people reuniting after a painful separation. "How did you find me?" Amanda asked Robert once she regained her composure. "It's a long story, but what matters is we're all together now." They spent the rest of the day catching up. Amanda shared the years of running, always moving cities whenever Brandon found her. She explained she'd left Emily with Ms. Martha because she knew she'd be safe there. "I'd come back to see her in secret sometimes," she confessed. "I'd watch from afar just to make sure she was okay, but I never got close. I was afraid of putting her in danger." "And this Brandon? Is he still after you?" Robert asked. "I don't know. It's been about 8 months since I last heard from him. Some acquaintances said he was arrested for other things, but I don't know if he's still in jail." Ms. Margaret, who had stayed quiet until then, introduced herself to Amanda and shared the investigations she'd done. Brandon Miller was sentenced to 6 years in prison for assault and threats against others. He's been locked up for 10 months and won't be out anytime soon. Amanda began to cry with relief. "So it's really over? I can stop running?" "Yes, sweetheart," Robert said. "Now you can come home and stay with your family." "But I don't have a home anymore. I have nothing." "Yes, you do. You have me, you have Emily, you have Ms. Martha, who cared for your girl like her own grandchild. And you have Ms. Margaret here, who's been like a mother to you." Emily stepped closer to Amanda. "Mom, do you want to come live with us? Grandpa Robert has a big house, and Grandma Martha will be so happy to meet you." Amanda looked at her daughter in awe. "You call him Grandpa?" "I do. He's the best grandpa in the world, and Grandma Martha is the best grandma. Now we just need you to make our family complete." That night, Amanda quit her job at the ranch and packed her few belongings, just basic clothes and some photos she'd kept. "All these years, the only things that kept me going were these pictures," she said, showing baby photos of Emily and Robert. On Sunday, they returned to Denver. Emily held Amanda's hand the whole trip, as if afraid she'd disappear again. When they arrived home, Miss Martha was waiting at the door. The reunion between her and Amanda was emotional. "My dear, you're so thin," Miss Martha said, hugging Amanda. "But now you're home, and I'll take good care of you." "Ms. Martha, I don't know how to thank you for everything you've done for Emily. No need to thank me. She brought joy to my life, and now that you're back, my joy is complete." In the following days, Amanda began adjusting to her new life. It felt strange to stay in one place after years of running, but little by little she relaxed, realizing she was truly safe. Emily helped with everything, showing her the house, introducing neighbors, telling her about school and friends. Mother and daughter built a relationship based on love and patience. "Mom, do you know how to make bracelets like me?" Emily asked one day. "I taught you through Grandma Martha," Amanda replied, smiling. "That's how I made them when I was your age. So can you teach me some new techniques?" "Of course I can. Actually, I have some ideas that could make your bracelets even prettier." They spent entire afternoons working together, creating increasingly elaborate pieces. The bracelets became so popular at Robert's market that he had to create a special section just for them. "Dad, I think we've discovered a family business," Amanda said one day. "The bracelets are selling really well." "It's true. Customers love knowing they're made by the two of you working together. We could turn this into something bigger, teach others in the community, start a cooperative of artisans." Amanda's idea excited everyone. Ms. Margaret offered to fund the initial project, and they began planning a small craft workshop in the back of the market. Within 3 months, they had gathered 12 women from the area who learned the bracelet technique and started producing them for sale. The project became so successful that it was even featured in the local newspaper. Emily was overjoyed seeing her family working together on something that had grown from her talent. "Grandpa, did you know all this started because I was hungry and made a bracelet to trade for bread? And did you know that hunger you felt saved our whole family?" Robert replied. "If you hadn't shown up at my market that day, I never would have found your mother." Life had finally found its way. Robert got his daughter back and gained a wonderful granddaughter. Amanda reunited with her family and discovered she could start over. Emily got the mother she had always dreamed of, without losing the people who had raised her. Ms. Martha, now fully recovered from pneumonia, became the family matriarch, always reminding everyone of the importance of dignity and honest work. Ms. Margaret became part of the family circle, considered Emily's godmother and a dear friend to all. A year after their first meeting at the market, they threw a party to celebrate Emily's 10th birthday. The girl had grown so much, both physically and emotionally. "Grandpa, can I make a speech?" she asked during the party. "Of course, sweetheart." Emily stood up and looked at all the loved ones gathered. "I want to thank everyone here. Grandma Martha, who raised me and taught me to be a good person. Grandpa Robert, who found me and gave me a whole family. Mum, who came back to stay with me forever. Ms. Margaret, who helped bring our family together. And all the friends from the cooperative who are part of our big family." She paused for a moment, emotional. "A year ago, I walked into Grandpa's market with a bracelet and a lot of hunger. Today, I have everything a girl could want. A family who loves me, a safe home, true friends, and a future ahead. And all of this started with a simple tin bracelet." She held up the original bracelet, which Miss Martha had kept all these years. "This little bracelet here means nothing to someone who doesn't know our story. But to us it's worth more than all the gold in the world, because it's what brought our family back together." Everyone applauded, many with tears in their eyes. It was impossible not to be moved by the maturity and wisdom of that girl who had endured so much suffering, but never lost hope or kindness. That night, after everyone had left, the family gathered in Robert's living room. Emily was asleep in Amanda's arms, Miss Martha knitted in her favorite chair, and Robert sorted through photos from the party. "Dad, do you regret anything?" Amanda asked. "I regret not looking for you sooner, not insisting more when you ran away, so you'd tell me what was happening. If you had insisted, maybe I would have told you. And then you would have tried to protect me, and Brandon might have hurt you too. And you, Amanda, do you regret anything?" "I regret being away from Emily all these years, but I know it was the only way to protect her. And look how she turned into such a wonderful girl even without me. She became wonderful because of all of us," said Miss Martha. "Every person who came into her life left a little bit of love and wisdom behind." "That's true," agreed Robert. "Emily is the result of a whole community's love." They fell silent for a moment, each lost in their thoughts. It was a comfortable silence, the kind shared by a close family at peace. "Dad, can I tell you something?" said Amanda. "Of course. All those years on the run, what hurt me the most wasn't being afraid of Brandon. It was imagining Emily growing up thinking I abandoned her because I didn't love her. She never thought that, sweetheart. Ms. Martha always told her you loved her deeply, but couldn't stay close for reasons she'd understand when she grew up. And does she understand now? She does, and she admires you for having the courage to stay away to protect her." Amanda kissed Emily's forehead as she slept peacefully. "I promise I'll never leave her again. Now that we're safe, I'll make up for all the lost time." "You have your whole lives ahead of you," said Miss Martha. "What matters isn't the time you lost, but the time you'll have together." The following months brought big changes. The crafts cooperative grew so much they had to rent a larger space. Emily became the inspiration and face of the project, appearing in promotional materials and sharing her story with reporters. "I want other kids to know there's always hope," she said in her interviews. "Even when everything seems lost, good people show up to help." Amanda went back to school, finishing her high school diploma through an adult education program. She wanted to study teaching so she could work with at-risk children. "I want to help other boys and girls going through what I went through," she explained to the family. Robert expanded the market, dedicating an entire section to local crafts. The business thrived so much that he hired more employees and improved working conditions for everyone. Ms. Martha became the cooperative's activity coordinator, using her life experience to guide the younger craftswomen. Even in her 60s, she was more active and happy than ever. Ms. Margaret remained the family's wealthy godmother, but her greatest joy was simply being part of their daily lives. Every Sunday, she had lunch at Robert's house, where she truly felt like family. 2 years after their reunion, news arrived that finally closed the chapter of fear in Amanda's life. Brandon had been killed in a prison fight. She didn't feel joy, just deep relief. "Now I can use my real name everywhere," she told Robert. "I can have documents, a bank account, all of it without fear. And what do you want to be called from now on?" "Amanda Johnson. I want everyone to know I'm your daughter and Emily's mother." Emily's 11th birthday party was even bigger than the last. She'd become a local celebrity of sorts, known for her story of resilience and the social work she was involved in. "Hey, can I say something?" she announced during the party. Everyone gathered to listen. "This year, I learned a new word at school, protagonist. My teacher said the protagonist is the main person in a story. But I realized our family doesn't have just one. We're all equally important." She pointed to each person. "Grandma Martha, who taught me values and gave me unconditional love. Grandpa Robert, who accepted me as his granddaughter without even knowing if I was really his family. Mom, who sacrificed her own happiness to protect me. Ms. Margaret, who used her means to help our family. And all the women from the cooperative who turned our pain into beauty." Emily held the original bracelet in her hands. "This little bracelet here remains our symbol, but now it represents something even more beautiful than when I was hungry. It shows that when good people come together, any problem can be solved." "So now what's our next dream?" asked Robert. "I want to open a craft school for kids in the community," Emily answered without hesitation. "I want to teach them how to make bracelets, but I also want to teach them that it's possible to have dignity, even when you're poor." "That's a beautiful dream, sweetheart." "And achievable," added Miss Margaret. "We can start planning as early as next week." "Really?" Emily jumped with joy. "Really? How about we call it the Emily Wilson School of Crafts and Citizenship?" Emily looked at everyone with shining eyes. "I can have my name on the school." "Of course you can. It was your idea, and you lived the story that inspired all this." 5 years later, the Emily Wilson School was a well-established reality. It operated in its own building, served 200 children and teens from the area, and had become a reference for education through crafts. Emily, now 16, was a beautiful and intelligent young woman who had never lost the simplicity and kindness that defined her since childhood. She attended a good private school, funded by a scholarship Miss Margaret had secured for her. "Mum, I've decided what I want to study in college," she told Amanda one day. "What will it be?" "Business administration with a focus on solidarity economics. I want to learn how to create and manage projects like ours, so I can replicate them in other communities." Amanda smiled proudly. Her daughter had found a life purpose that perfectly matched her personality. "And you, Mom? How's school going?" "I'm in my last year of education studies. Next year I'll graduate and can officially work at the school." "That's great. Then our family will be complete, all working together on the project." It was true. Robert handled the commercial and administrative side. Amanda would be the lead educator. Ms. Martha coordinated the workshops. Ms. Margaret was the chair of the board, and Emily would be the future executive director. "You know what makes me happiest?" said Amanda. "What?" "Seeing how you turned your pain into strength to help others. Many people who go through hardships as children grow bitter or angry. You managed to turn everything into love." "I learned that from Grandma Martha. She always said we can choose to be victims or examples. And you chose to be an example. We all chose to be examples, Mom, each in our own way." That summer, Emily received a special invitation. An NGO from Chicago wanted her to share her story at a national event about overcoming social vulnerability. "I'll go, but I want to take the whole family with me," she said. "Emily, this is your moment to shine on your own," Robert argued. "Grandpa, I don't shine alone. My light comes from our family. If I'm telling my story, I want everyone there to share their part." So the whole family traveled to Chicago. Emily told the story on the main stage, but called each family member up to speak about their role in the journey. "My story isn't about a brave girl who overcame hardships alone," she told an audience of over 1,000 people. My story is about how an entire community came together to save one child, and how that child grew up wanting to give back by saving other children. The audience stood and applauded for over 5 minutes. Many approached after the event, interested in replicating the project in their own cities. "Emily, do you have any idea the impact your story has had here?" asked the event organizer. "I hope it's a good impact. More than good. Revolutionary. You've shown it's possible to break cycles of poverty through love and education." That evening in the hotel in Chicago, the family gathered in Robert's room to reflect on the day. "Dad, do you realize how far we've come?" said Amanda. "It's hard to believe it all started with a little tin bracelet." "No, Dad, it all started with love. The bracelet was just the tool." Emily was quiet, thoughtful. "What's on your mind, sweetheart?" asked Robert. "I'm thinking maybe our story isn't over yet. Maybe this event is the start of a new chapter." "What new chapter?" "Taking our project across the whole United States, showing that any community can be transformed when people come together with love and purpose." Miss Martha, sitting in the armchair by the window, smiled. "This girl never stops dreaming, does she?" "And thank goodness she doesn't," replied Amanda. "Her dreams are what push our family forward. They're not just my dreams, Mom, they're ours. The difference is I'm the youngest, so I have more time to make them happen." 6 months after the event in Chicago, Emily received an offer that would change everything once again. An international foundation wanted to fund the expansion of the project to 5 states. "It's an incredible opportunity," said Ms. Margaret during a family meeting, "but it's also a huge responsibility." "Emily, do you feel ready for something this big?" asked Robert. "Not alone, but with our family, I feel ready for anything." "Then it's settled," said Amanda. "Let's grow our little silent revolution." "Silent revolution?" asked Emily. "That's what I call our project. We're changing lives, but gently, through love and education." Emily liked the phrase. Silent revolution. That could be the name of our methodology. And so the Silent Revolution methodology was born, a craft-based education system that began spreading across the United States. Emily, still underage, became the project's ambassador, traveling the country to train educators and coordinators. At 18, during her high school graduation party, Emily gave a speech that summed up everything she'd learned. 9 years ago, I traded a tin bracelet for a loaf of bread. Today, that same bracelet has opened doors for hundreds of children across the United States. It taught me that no gesture is too small. If it's made with love, it can change the world." She looked at her gathered family. "Grandma Martha taught me dignity. Grandpa Robert taught me generosity. Mum taught me that sometimes you must sacrifice to protect those you love. Ms. Margaret taught me that those who have more must help those who have less. And all the women in the co-op taught me that together, we're stronger." Emily held the original bracelet, now framed as the project's official symbol. "This little bracelet gave me so much more than bread that day. It gave me a family, a purpose, and the certainty that there's always hope." She paused, emotional. "Now I'm off to college, but not to leave you behind. I'm studying to get even better at what I do, because our silent revolution is just beginning." And it truly was. 2 years later, the Silent Revolution methodology had reached 10 states, served over 5,000 children and teens, and provided income for nearly 2,000 families. Emily, now a sophomore in business administration, split her time between studies and her work with the project. She had grown into a beautiful, determined young woman, yet she kept the same sweet and generous essence of the girl who once traded a bracelet for a loaf of bread. "Mom, do you know what I discovered while studying economics?" she said to Amanda one day. "What?" "That our project isn't just social, it's also economic and political. We're changing the way people relate to work and community." "How so?" "We're proving it's possible to generate income without exploiting anyone, to educate through work, and to transform societies through small local actions." Amanda smiled proudly. "You're starting to sound like your doctoral thesis." "Because it will be my doctoral thesis. I'm going to document our entire experience and turn it into scientific knowledge that can be taught in universities." "And after that?" "After that, I'll travel the world teaching our methodology. I want to see projects like ours in at least 50 countries." 50 countries? Isn't that too big a dream? Mom, 10 years ago, I was a girl who went hungry. Today I lead a project that transforms lives across the United States. If that's not proof that no dream is too big, I don't know what is. That night, Emily was in the living room, working on her laptop, when Robert approached. Still awake, sweetheart? I'm finishing the project report for the International Foundation. They want to expand to other countries in Latin America. And you want to accept? I do. But only if the whole family agrees. I won't do anything without you. Robert sat beside her. Emily, have you ever thought it might be time to fly solo? You're a grown woman now. You can make your own decisions. Grandpa, I can fly high, but I'll never fly solo. You all are my strength, my inspiration, my foundation. Without family, there's no Emily. But what about when you marry, have your own children? When that happens, our family will only grow. My kids will grow up hearing the story of the little bracelet. They'll learn that family isn't just blood, it's a choice. Robert hugged his granddaughter tenderly. You know what makes me proudest of you? What? Seeing that success hasn't changed your essence. You're still the same generous, humble girl who showed up at my market. How could I change, Grandpa? You all remind me every day of where I came from and why I'm doing all this. And we'll keep reminding you. That's our job as family. Emily smiled and went back to typing. Tomorrow I'll present our proposal to expand to Canada and Jamaica. If they approve in 5 years, we could be all over North America. And after that? After that, Africa, Europe, Asia. I want every child in the world to know it's possible to turn scrap metal into hope. End of story. Now tell us what you thought of this story of perseverance and family. Do you believe small gestures can truly transform lives? Share your thoughts in the comments and your own stories of overcoming adversity. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss other inspiring stories like this one. Your participation means so much to us.